Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome, everyone. I'm Chatty. This is my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, where I'm going to be chatting away madly about books by transgender authors. I am so excited that Transgirl April is happening again. This is the readathon created by Kevvie from Say Kevvie, and she is just making it simple for everyone this year. Read books by trans authors. That's it. So if you are someone that likes a little bit kind of more guidance, there is her prompt bingo board from last year where you can think about reading by a trans woman, or author who's a trans woman, author who's a trans man, and author who is non-binary, and also thinking about having some fiction, having some non-fiction, and having some genre fiction. So there are things you can do to kind of give yourself a little bit more prompty things. She's got a Discord, so you can get chatty in there with a lot of other people and share book recommendations and all of that good stuff. So all of this is in the description box, so please go and have a look. Also keep looking. There are going to be a lot of trans book video recommendations coming out, so keep watching as many as possible to find the ones that are going to work the best for you. I did do a video last year. I cannot remember what books I put on it because I haven't looked at it, but I will link it here because I think there were some that I haven't got this time that I'm not going to mention this time. There are probably going to be my favourite ones, which I'm going to mention again. But yeah, so have a look at that as well. There could be some different ones, but definitely go and check out other people. Kevvie obviously has some. There's Willow from Books and Bow. I might even put a few of ones that I found really helpful in the past kind of like underneath, so you can have a good little look and browse. So the books I'm going to be talking about today, I am going to do it in kind of like age range. So I'm going to talk to you about picture books because there are some fantastic picture books out there. There are a lot on my list that I haven't got hold of, but there are a few that I'm probably going to be reading all these picture books that I've got, to be perfectly honest. I've got some fiction and some non-fiction, so I'll talk to you about those. I've also got some middle grade, not as much as I want. I want more middle grade with trans protagonists written by trans authors. There should be more. I would like more, please. And we have some YA. Again, I thought I would find more of these. Maybe because of who I am, I'm looking in the wrong places. I don't know. And then I have adult books, and I have got a lot more adult books. So I'm going to be going through it like that. I have so many like on my wish list I want to talk about, but I have decided I'm just going to keep it to ones where I physically have the book with me. So I've just come back from the library and had an amazing time and got a huge load of books. So this is very exciting, and it's just going to cause me all sorts of chaos when I have to narrow down and decide what I actually want to read. So let's crack straight on. I do not edit my long videos. It's one continuous take, which is why you have me blaring at times, but I'm going to try and be concise and talk you through these books quickly. There will be timestamps, so if you're like, I don't care about middle grade and picture books, you can skip ahead to the age range that you find suitable, but you might want to try something new. You know, there's some of the picture books are brilliant. I'm really excited about reading them, so you never know. So cheers, everyone. Clink, 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 clink. My little tiny teacup is over there, but I have a lot to talk about and I don't want to take this any longer, so we're just going to go with it. Okay, I'm going to start off with some non-fiction picture books. So with the non-fiction ones, it's slightly more difficult to do transgender authors, but these are trans picture books and they include lots of information about trans, and I think they're really important, so I'm going to put them up anyway. But all of the fiction picture books I have are by authors who are trans. So the first one I have is Gender Heroes, and this is by the publishing company Jessica Kingley Publishers, and the illustrations are by Felipa Namorando. And what this does is this goes through famous people who have managed to achieve their dreams and do things, famous people from history as well who are transgender. So here we have Elliot Page, we have I'm trying to think of some other people that you may know. Oh, here we go. This is very exciting. We've got Owl and Fox in here. And Fox Fisher is one of the people that I have in my, one of the authors I have here. And I really enjoy the Owl and Fox's channel. So that is very cool that they're in here. And then we have wonderfully historical people like Marsha P. Johnson as well. So this is going to be really fun to read. We then have this smaller book called Understanding Transgender. I've had a little quick flip through. I haven't gone into it in too detail, but I love non-fiction picture books because I'm someone who is a very visual person, and I love it when all of my information is divided up into very helpful things. So I love it when you have a chunk of text that's then highlighted in a different shape to make it stand out. It helps it break it down for me so I can take it all in. So I think this is fabulous. It also ends with so it talks about lots of different things in a really like clear way to help children understand it. And we then have a story done in post-it notes of so sort of like a little mini memoir at the back as well. So that looks fantastic. This is a slightly older one. This didn't talk. So this the book I've just spoken about is called Understanding Transgender, and it's from My Life, Your Life series. So that's a book series that tackles sensitive and a positive look at issues. And they've listed some consultants that they've worked with on this book. The editor is Jean Coppendale. The designer is Lorraine Inglis. They've thanked Dan for their story. Haven't got anything about the illustration on there. This next book is called She, He, They, Them, Understanding Gender Identity. This is sort of like the next level up. It's a bit thicker. We've got sort of longer sections of writing and kind of it goes into a lot more detail. It's not set up is my favourite way like the other one was, but I'm still looking forward to reading this. I'm also very excited that we've got a look at intersex people as well. And one of the people I am really interested in is Casta Semenya. I think she's been so unfairly treated by the media, and I really like her, so I'm looking forward to reading about this as well. It definitely explores a lot of the concepts around gender and how we need to think about gender in a new way, because the boys girls strict binary just doesn't work for our society anymore, and we need to kind of be more aware of this. Now onto the fiction section. So a book I have just read is called Phoenix Goes to School. This is a memoir by 7-year-old Phoenix, who is gender non-conforming trans girl, and her mum. Phoenix wanted to write a book to share what she felt like, so that other people would know they're not alone, which is wonderful. And the illustrator is Sharon Davey. And it gives you some information at the beginning. So you've got a little bit of information about who Phoenix is. And you've got a little bit of information kind of at the back. So for grown-ups to be able to talk to their children a bit more about it. It's got a little bit of information for kids for you to ask questions, and we've got a picture of Phoenix here, and it's just really lovely. There's Phoenix with her mum, and then you've got the story inside of Phoenix's first day at school. So just reading the beginning part of the book, I was already feeling quite emotional before I even opened the book. And then just reading the book, you've got Phoenix just having a normal day, just explaining that when she was born she was assigned a boy, but that was not how she felt inside. And then we've got her just doing normal kid things, having a lovely time. She talks about flowers. Flowers are something that she really enjoys. She enjoys all the different varieties and watching them grow. And this metaphor of flowers is something that her mum uses to help her have the confidence to be who she wants to be. So Phoenix very much enjoys wearing the clothes she wants to wear. She really wants to wear a dress to school, but she is worried that other people might not understand her. They might get it confused. They might call her a boy. They might bully her for choosing to wear a dress. And this makes her feel very anxious. So her mum comforts her and just says, you just need to be yourself. No one is asking anything more than that of you. And so that's what Phoenix does. And what is lovely is that she welcomes people asking questions, but everyone is just interested in the wonderful childlike way of, we're just curious. And it's like they then move on quickly. Question, answer, done. And Phoenix is just happy to have made lots of friends and is looking forward to wearing another dress at school the following day. So this is just a really lovely story. I think it's going to be a really beautiful one to read with someone, and I think it's going to be so fantastic for people who know a gender non-conforming child, or there's one in their school, or just to kind of help children understand that it's not a binary world. I then have 3 books by Sarah Savage, who is a trans woman. One of these is mine, one is from the library. So I have She's My Dad and He's My Mum. So both of these are stories illustrating what it's like for a child if one of your parents has transitioned. And it's done in a really warm, simple, caring way. We start off, both books follow a very similar trajectory. And I just think it's really nice because you've got someone, if there's someone who is transitioning to reflect their maleness, and someone who's transitioning to reflect their femaleness. I'm hoping she brings out like a non-binary one, because obviously that's the missing part here. But these are really lovely. So we start off by introducing the child. We also have a link to a pet, and then there is a family event happening that they're getting ready for, and we are introduced to their parent and discuss that their parent has been through transitioning, and that they visited them in hospital, and that they can call them by their name. In She's My Mum, then his name is David, but both books are like, they don't mind their more gendered parent name they were previously using still being used. So the child in She's My Mum calls David Mum, and David doesn't mind being called David or Mum. So it's exploring that it's important for children to understand how names make people feel, and the parent explaining like what they would like to be called and what they're happy to be called. And then you have the family gathering, and then there is sort of fluff up with pronouns, and then the child explains about the pronouns. So in the case of He's My Mum, they say that you need to use he pronouns, because otherwise, it makes him feel sad and hurt when people don't use the right pronoun. So it's explaining that, in understanding that it's a mistake that quite a lot of people can make with the adjustment. And then again, you've got some questions and some bits for parents and some glossary terms in here as well. So yeah, they're both very kind of age appropriate books. I then have Are You a Boy or a Girl? So this is the non-binary, I suppose, part for that, but it would be nice to have one with a relative as well. So this is Sarah Savage and Fox Fisher. So as I said, Sarah Savage is a trans woman, Fox Fisher is non-binary. So this tells the story of Tiny. Again, we have the starting school aspect, and the children wanting to pigeonhole Tiny into girl or boy, and Tiny just saying, I'm me. I like this, I like that, I like this, I like that, I'm me. So it's a really nice kind of exploration of if you have got a non-binary child, or if you know someone non-binary, it's a really nice kind of book to look at for that. 2 more to go. I have You Need to Chill by Juno Dawson. So this is a book where the child's sibling has transitioned. So this is kind of like very clearly kind of explaining to other children in the class what's happened with her family. And there is dead naming in here of the sibling, but the children previously knew them as that, and it helps with the rhyme. So I can see why Juno Dawson made that decision to do that. So it's about what's happened to the protagonist's brother. We don't see them anymore, and he's like, well, that's because they're my sister. And it's just like, there's no big deal, just chill out is the vibe from it. So it's a really fun story. We've got some lovely illustrations here from Laura Hughes. Juno Dawson is a trans woman. So this is, again, it's another very age appropriate, warm, positive picture book. And then finally, I have a self-published picture book called The Boy Who Wanted to Be a Deer by Ember White. And it has absolutely gorgeous illustrations by Marta Maskszewski. Apologies for absolutely butchering that name. This you can access on Amazon. So before I go into this, I feel I just need to make a couple of points. When you, with all books, and I think especially picture books, that you know your child best, you know what is going to work for them. There are some aspects in this book which can feel darker because of sort of bullying. Some children might feel a sense of loss whilst reading this, and there is kind of a sort of an older theme explanation. So if you feel it's something that if you looked at it with a child they would struggle with or they would get upset by, you need to make that decision before you look at the book. This book, as you will have guessed, uses a metaphor to explore the idea of not fitting in, of trying to live your life for other people and not for yourself, and not feeling happy and satisfied because you have allowed other people's goals to take place over your own ones and your own decisions for life. With a metaphor, you're not tied down to a narrative, so you can slip in your own meaning behind it. So it could be a metaphor for being trans. It could be a metaphor for just being pushed into a career path that you don't want, or being pushed into doing, as it's a picture book, maybe a child is being encouraged to learn how to play the piano, but actually what they really want to do is play the drums, and they don't really care about the piano. And it's just giving you the courage to say, look, you're never going to be satisfied necessarily by people pleasing. It's really hard, and it's really brave to say, actually, I want this. I know you want the best for me and think this is for the best for me, but I don't enjoy this. What I enjoy is this, which I think is a really important message for children. Now, some clever people think that, we're teaching children that they can just go and be a fantasy animal. Books are fantastical. Most of them contain talking animals, which we know isn't real. I read to my children a wonderful book by Minnie Gray about a dish and a spoon that are inanimate objects and go off into the world. Children can deal with fantastical concepts and are not expecting it to be real. So this book explores this boy Tommy, and we've got these beautiful illustrations here of all his hopes and dreams, what he wants to do. He is a hard worker, he's got a lot of potential, and he is pushed into all these different ideas that he could do when he's older. And there's a lot of pressure kind of surrounding all of this. But we get to see Tommy's true feelings when he can be who he truly wants to be, and how freeing it is that he would love to be a deer. And that's what he wants. So the artwork that comes alongside it is just really, really beautiful. There's some just the emotions that kind of come through from the artwork. Just really adds to the story, like the use of colour, the use of isolation. All of those things are, I just think, really help bring this alive. So it is a very emotional story, so just be aware of that. But the metaphor is very beautifully used here. So I think this is definitely a picture book that, although yes, it is done in a way that can make the concepts accessible to children, I do feel that this is definitely a picture book that I think adults will get a deeper appreciation of. So there you go, adults, this one's for you. And that's the last of the picture books. So I'm now going to have a good gulp of tea and move on to middle grade. So I have a very small pile of middle grade here, which, as someone who loves middle grade, does not feel good enough. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a book that I have read recently and absolutely loved, and that is Jamie by L.D. Lipinski. So LD Lipinski is a non-binary author, and this is a contemporary story about Jamie, who is non-binary. They have been living their non-binary true life for a couple of years, but they're approaching the end of primary school where they need to decide, do they want to go to a school that's for boys or a school that's for girls, because those are the only two options. And it explores how Jamie deals with this and deals with a society that's not really set up to include Jamie in things. And there was so much in here that made me angry and sad, and it's done in such a beautifully heartfelt way. And there's a lot of learning to be done by a lot of the adults in here, and I think it was done very realistically. And I think there's some really wonderful moments of the adult growth and of communications between parent and child in this, and it was just so good. LD Lipinski has other books as well. So this is their Strange Worlds Travel Agency series. There are 3 books in this trilogy. I have yet to read it, but I hear amazing things about this magical portal fantasy, and I feel I'm going to own it and I'm going to love it. So I've got it out the library just to demonstrate. They also have a new book out that I can't remember what it's called, but that's also very exciting as well. I just adored the writing in Jamie, so feel absolutely certain I'm just going to love pretty much everything they write. I then have Hurricane Child by Case and Callender. So Case and Callender is most well known for Felix. Felix Ever After? Yes. But they have also written a few middle grade as well, one of which being Hurricane Child. So this is a book I need to go put back onto my bed afterwards because I haven't earned it yet, but I'm really hoping to. But I wanted to talk to you because Case and Callender is non-binary, and they have a few of the middle grade books as well, so you might want to go and delve into those. And I have heard nothing but praise for Hurricane Child. I don't know the synopsis. All of these books are in the description for you to go and look at the synopsis. I don't want to know the synopsis. I just heard people talking about it. I've loved Case and Callender's other books, so that was enough for me to want to try some of their middle grade. It goes without saying, you must know Alex Gino's Melissa, which is the story of a trans girl. Do bear in mind that it was written in 2015, I think it was. So I think the way we talk about gender and language has moved on slightly, but it's one of those books that is just going to be, if that book is not a classic, I'm going to be utterly surprised in sort of 20 and 30 years. It absolutely should be, because it's the first book that we've had that has featured a trans protagonist. Alex Gino is non-binary, and they have got some other books out as well. I particularly enjoyed Rick because I loved the LGBTQ plus family in that book, and how the concept of bullying was explored in that one. And I have another book that I really, really love, and that is The Insiders by Mark Oshiro. Mark Oshiro is also non-binary and has written quite a few books. This is the only one I read, but I definitely want to read more. This book, so much warmth and heart in this book, and friendship. It's a contemporary school story with some magical realism. So there is a hidden, no, not so hidden, there's a door in this school that kind of takes you through to this kind of like secret room, and our protagonist finds it one day because he is being bullied. So our protagonist is openly gay, he is Latin American, and he's very flamboyant. The school he has moved to is not used to openly gay people, and he is refusing to conform to that, and he's refusing to be anything other than himself, and he gets bullied for it. But he finds his strength through some other children that are also struggling within their schools, and together they have this wonderful friendship and they help each other out. And it looks a lot at, you know, what friendship looks like, what it looks like to stand up for what you believe in, what it's like to be yourself. And just the heart of this book is just so gorgeous. There we go. That was very speedy for my middle grade books. But we are going to move on now to YA. And I'm going to start with Case and Callender. You do not need me to tell you about Felix Ever After. If you need me to tell you about Felix Ever After, where have you been? This is a beloved YA contemporary book, I'm going to tell you clearly, about Felix, who is a trans boy and is studying over the summer period to try and get his college grades up. Something horrible kind of happens to him, and it kind of knocks his confidence a little bit, and he's sort of like basically dealing with like how to make himself feel better about that. He also really loves the concept of being in love, but doesn't feel that's ever going to be true for him. He feels like he's just not going to be right for anyone, and it's how his friendship group grows, how his exploration grows, and his confirmation of his identity, and it's just so, again, warm and full of heart. Case and Calendar has got a lot of books, so there's a lot of backlog for you to look at, but the story that I'm interested in, that someone has just checked out the library, so I wasn't able to get it, but I do have the first chapter here in this little freebie. So this is Infinity Alchemist, and it is a YA fantasy, and it sounds amazing. So it's a queer YA fantasy, and that's it does give you a little synopsis in here. Here we go. I'm going to tell you. So it's dark academia, enemies to lovers, a swoon-worthy romance with LGBTQ+ representation. Ash Woods isn't supposed to perform alchemy. He'll be arrested if anyone finds out, but when he's caught by the condescending Ramsay Thorne, instead of handing him over to the Reds, Ramsay blackmails Ash into helping with a dangerous personal mission, finding the legendary Book of Source, said to make its reader an all-powerful alchemist. As Ash and Ramsay work together, their feelings for each other grow. Ash must discover his own power and find out how far other alchemists are willing to go and get it. I obviously love fantasy, so I'm excited to read fantasy by Case and Calendar. They have got some other fantasy books out that I'm constantly got on my World of Books list to kind of like get at some point, so we will get there. Next, I have Pet by Kevvie From. This is a book I have recently earned, and I'm so excited to finally read it. We will see if it happens. So this is, again, another fantasy. Kevvie From is a non-binary author, and I believe our protagonist is non-binary as well. And this is a sort of a dystopia. It's kind of like a dystopia because it's a utopia, but we know utopias never really are utopias, so there's still like some kind of monstrous stuff in this world still. And I don't want to know any more than that because I hear such amazing things, and I feel I'm absolutely going to love this, so I'm not going to spoil myself by knowing too much about the plot and setting up expectations. I don't have any more fiction to talk about. There definitely is more trans YA fiction out there. I just don't have it to hand, so definitely look for that on other people's videos. But I'm now going to talk about non-fiction. So first of all, I have Jamie Rain's The T in LGBT+. It says everything you need to know about being trans. So this is a mixture of a bit of a memoir about Jamie, some self-help information, sort of like Jamie holding your hand and kind of talking you through the steps of it, and how to be a supportive ally as well. So I love how this book is laid out. I've already said I enjoy a good layout in books. And so it's full of like little kind of things with like bullet points. It's got lots of quotes from other people. So Jamie is very aware that he could only give you a white trans man experience. So he has made sure that he has got trans women stories from lots of different communities and cultures in here as well, to kind of give extra to make it more well-rounded, I suppose, and layered. And we've got some artwork in here as well, which is really cute. So here we have got Jamie being excited about having his first chest hair. So it's very kind of like animated drawing, and I just love it when you find one of those in the book. So yes, if you are someone that has really wants to get involved and doesn't really know a lot about what it means to be trans, this is a really great place to start, because it's kind of very much kind of like the foundation of information for you. And then have some memoirs. So you can see here Gender Queer by Maya Kevvie. Maya Kevvie is non-binary, and that is their memoir in the graphic form of their journey to exploring and kind of coming to terms with their identity, also coming to terms with the identity of being ace. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful book, and is one of the most challenged books recently. So obviously that's a reason that you definitely should be reading it. Just thought I'd mention if you are doing the Banned Books 24 and 24 challenge. Another graphic novel memoir is Welcome to St. Helens by Lewis Hancox. This, Lewis Hancox is a trans man, and this is his journey. I really love both of these. Genderqueer, I think, is a lot more, I don't know what the word is. It's kind of like, it's weird to say about a graphic novel, but more kind of lyrical. Like, there's a lot more kind of like, maybe more like whimsy and metaphorical kind of art. This is full of humour. So much humour in Welcome to St. Helens. So just on the cover, we've got a cartoon drawing of Lewis as he is now, an adult male. And he says, that was me in high school. And there he is as himself in high school. And she's going, whatever. She's got her big, massive backpack on. And she's just walking into school. And this is just absolutely full of amusing stories, but whilst really going into kind of like how he felt as a teen, how he struggled with stuff as a teen. So there is a lot of personal stuff in there as well. And just the way he kind of reflects on how he was then, and also speaks to family. And there's moments where that fourth wall is just knocked out, and he is having a conversation in the present day, a conversation with his mum, who he always draws in a dressing gown, and she starts saying, why have you drawn me in a ruddy dressing gown? It's great. He has got his own channel that I definitely recommend you check out. It will be linked. The sketches on there are hilarious. And he has a new book coming out in May called Escape from St. Helens, which is kind of the second part of his memoir, as he kind of like gets deeper into his transition. So I'm very excited for that one. This one I have not read. This is Beyond Magenta, a transgender teen speaks out. And it is 6 teenagers describing what life is like for them as members of the transgender community. And all of them are from the US. And this is also on the list of banned books. So this is a book that has been banned quite a lot. And those are all the YA books I have to talk about. So we're now going to move on to adult books. Okay, I'm going to start off with fiction and move on to non-fiction. Don't have a huge amount of fiction. I just want a chance to do this again. So this is Juno Dawson's, I've mentioned her already, Her Majesty's Royal Coven. It is fantasy, it is witches set in modern day world, and it is delightfully messy. There's so much going on, the characters are fantastic. You might start off reading Her Majesty's Royal Coven and going, so what? This was a queer book, it's not really feeling very queer. Just you wait, the glitter is coming, the glitter is coming. And I love it. I just love how messy it is, how fun the characters are, and there's some fantastic stuff in here that if you're looking for positive trans stuff, it's coming. We also have the Shadow Cabinet, where it continues. There's a lot more kind of like feminist themes in this one, and more messiness. And we have a prequel coming out, and then the 3rd book is going to be published later next year, but I love that series. I then have She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. Shelley Parker Chan is a non-binary author, and I have He Who Drowned the World, which is the end of this duology. So this is sort of Chinese historical fiction with a sprinkling of fantasy in this one. I think He Who Drowned the World is going to have more fantasy in it because I felt it coming. But I loved She Who Became the Sun, and I'm really looking forward to reading He Who Drowned the World to see kind of where we go with these characters. Okay, we are now on to non-fiction. And I have a memoir here called Unicorn by Amaru Al-Qadi. I love this book. This is a book I'm definitely going to be rereading at some point. I feel probably next year. I might read this one for Transgirl April next year because it's gorgeous. Amaru Al-Qadi is non-binary. They are also from a Muslim family, and it's basically their journey, exploring their identity in this book, how they find drag, how they explore their gender, their sexuality, and lots of difficulties in here, lots of kind of coming to terms and sort of like lots of trying self-love and struggling with a feeling of shame. There's so much intersectionality in here as well, because they were growing up around the Iraq War. So it was really hard to be it's very hard to be from the Middle East and a Muslim in the West during that time. So there's a lot of exploration in this book, but it's so beautiful. There's some really like upsetting points in terms of like mental emotional health, but then there is moments of joy as well, so it's gorgeous. And then, I talk about some books from the library that I've got out. I am very excited to have picked up Uncomfortable Labels by Laura Kate Dale. Laura Kate Dale edited the anthology is what I need. Gender Euphoria, which I read last year and really enjoyed. And so I really, really want Laura's story. I want Laura's memoir. Laura is a trans woman, and Uncomfortable Labels tagline is "My life as a gay autistic trans woman." I have this little book here. I'm not entirely sure if it's an essay, if it's a mini memoir, but it's "I'm Afraid of Men" by Vivek Shraya. So it says on the leaf, "A trans artist explores how masculinity was imposed on her as a boy and continues to haunt her as a girl, and how we might reimagine gender for the 21st century. Vivek Shraya has reason to be afraid. Throughout her life, she's endured acts of cruelty and aggression for being too feminine as a boy and not feminine enough as a girl." I've heard amazing things about this book, so I'm really keen to read this one. I'm going to read all of these. Let's find out. I then have another anthology. This is Trans Love, edited by Freya Benson, an anthology of transgender and non-binary voices. I really enjoyed reading the anthology Gender Euphoria for Transgirl April last year, so I would like to possibly get to this, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not. A book I do really, really want to read is one that I very recently picked up on my book shopping, and this is They, She, He, or He, She, They, but I prefer They, She, He. And this is by Shlila Baylor. He is not an Olympic swimmer, could have been an Olympic swimmer, but he is an athlete who was definitely on track to be an Olympic swimmer, but chose to be his true self and start his transitional journey. And that obviously meant that there were struggles because the sporting world is sort of one of the most difficult places for gender to be explored in. So I'm really keen to read his story. So it's partly his memoir, but also partly exploring gender and how we see gender as a society. And it says how we talk about gender and why it matters. So I picked this up recently. It's quite hefty, but I'm really keen to read it. I'm very, very excited for this one. Also, this was sort of recommended. It had the Oliver stamp of approval. I will link Oliver's channel, and he said that this was very good. So yay. And then finally, I have a graphic gender graphic guide by Meg Jones Barker and Jules Scheel. I have already read this, but that was a long time ago, and that was kind of at my start of reading up more on gender. So I would love to reread this and kind of consolidate all this information into my brain. We have lots of illustrations throughout this, so I think it's very easily readable, but it really kind of goes quite deep into gender and kind of the concepts of gender and how we see gender and our society's kind of history with gender. So I think it'll be really, really fun. And oh no, one more little one. Oh, also I never mentioned YA non-fiction What's the Tea by Juno Dawson. I've already classified I love Juno Dawson, so I really want to read that, but I haven't earned it. I snuck it out from under my bed and then I'm gonna put it back. But I have this. This is Transmuted issue number 2. So this Transmuted is a journal made by trans people for trans people. I will put the link on the page here. They've probably way gone past issue 2 now, but I bought this when I was book shopping at a bookshop in Leeds called, I've forgotten what it was called, but something like Print Press or Press something, either Press or Print was in the bookshop title, and it was a queer bookshop, and it was very exciting. So I bought this there, but still haven't read it. I've kind of flicked through it, but I haven't read it cover to cover, so I'd probably like to do that as well. Okay, that's everything I wanted to talk about. Thank you so much for watching, and please let me know, have you read any of these books? Are you excited to read some trans books this April? Are you going to be taking part in Transgirl April? All you have to do is read one book by a trans author, and there are many of them out there, so I'm sure you will find something for you. Happy reading, everyone.